Hello and welcome back to the channel where you watch someone who doesn't really know how to sew or craft struggle with an overly ambitious project. Last week I did a video of my first project this summer, the Bridgerton dress, and how mediocre it was. In this video, I'll talk about the rest of the sewing projects I did last summer and rate them on a scale from 5, mediocre, to 1, abject failure / flaming dumpster fire. Part 2. Several more brave attempts at sewing something, summer 2024. Sadly, I didn't capture a ton of videos for the Playsuit project I did right after the Bridgerton dress, mainly because I thought since I had done this 50s Playsuit pattern before, it would go smoothly and would be no big deal. You thought wrong! Somehow, I could not figure out how to do the fly part of the shorts again, even though I'd done it before with this polka dot playsuit I did earlier this year. Eventually, I gave up and just made the top of the playsuit from the pattern as a separate top, and I also tried a different pattern with an elastic top for the shorts. I haven't worn the top anywhere yet just because it's cut very high and I just don't feel comfortable enough to wear it right now. Here is me looking very uncomfortable while I'm in it and trying to hide behind my hair, which I can do because it's absurdly long. But I did wear the heck out of the shorts this summer, so even though I pretty much failed, I would give this a 4, not a complete loss. I liked the top and it was really fun to upcycle this heart blanket that I used, and I did wear the shorts a lot. Also, I posted what I thought was a funny little short about not being able to figure this out on TikTok and learned that dumb is a blacklisted word and what it means to be shadow banned. So that was fun. Coming in at another 4 for quite mediocre, we have this apron I made from a tablecloth because I'm cheap. I rate this a 4 because I used a serger for the first time on this, and so construction-wise, it's definitely one of the best things I have done so far. However, I did intend for this to be a cute summer dress. That's what I thought the cute illustration on this pattern looked like, but it is definitely not a cute summer dress. This is an apron and makes me look like I'm about to ask you for your coffee order.
A pumpkin spice latte for Kelly?
I like it for what it is, but it is definitely not what I wanted at all, so yeah, I give it a 4 for being an attempt at something. After that, I attempted a vintage shirt pattern that I had picked up from a thrift store, thinking that it would be super simple and straightforward. That wasn't exactly the case. It had a lot of pieces for a shirt. I ended up trying it twice before I got it right. I don't know how I messed it up so badly the first time, but the neckline was way too high and kind of choked me. But as you know, if at first you don't succeed, try and fail again. So I tried that pattern again, and the second time it did go better. I used some scrap fabric I love that I got from the local reuse shop and made some alterations on the pattern that make the neck a lot more comfortable. I had to kind of force myself to bravely alter the pattern. You're very brave. Which is something I'm not super comfortable with yet, but I think it turned out great. I did an alteration without completely ruining something, so I think I'll be that much more likely to try altering patterns in the future. There was one difficult thing with the charmeuse fabric. It was fraying quite a lot, and I was afraid it was going to be unworkable. So I interfaced the entire back of the fabric with lightweight fusible interfacing, and that made it so much easier to work with. Plus, it's super soft and I love the feel and the flow of it. I wore this shirt a ton this summer and I actually learned a lot with it, so this one actually breaks our scale, and I would say it's probably a 7. A solid attempt with a decent outcome. I'm not really sure what the top of the scale is now, but there you go, it's all made up anyway. Then we have the worst failure of the summer.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
I was so excited to sew this vintage 70s flight attendant-esque dress pattern that I even bought new fabric for, despite the fact that I am cheap. But as you can see, I wasn't able to finish the project. So many things went wrong, but the thing that I really couldn't fix was the neckline. I am going to blame the directions and pattern for this one. I am starting to realize that not all patterns are created equal, and this one had really confusing directions and also just not the best method for how to do a square neckline like this. In the future, I will definitely be looking up tutorials on how to do tricky sewing techniques like this, in addition to the written instructions, because after I made some unrecoverable errors, like cutting too far into the main fabric, I looked up tutorials and found one that had what seemed to be a much easier method for this kind of neckline. I also made some other mistakes on this that I have to talk about. I cut into the main fabric. I made a hole in it with the serger, so that was not great. But yeah, all around, this was just a terrible experience. But after I got over the devastation of basically ruining the new material I had bought, I realized I learned a lot from this project. The most important thing being I should read what other people say about patterns before attempting them, and not attempt a pattern if I can't find anyone else that has successfully finished it, and try not to cut holes in my fabric. So as a finished object, this is definitely a 1 for abject failure. I'd like to say that my next and final summer project was a huge success, but life doesn't always work that way. In reality, I had another disappointing project where I made an apron when I was trying to make a dress. That's another thing I learned this summer. Beware of patterns of aprons masquerading as dresses. I thrifted this vintage, very cute backless strap dress and this autumny tablecloth to upcycle. But the problem was that the pattern is in the wrong size on me. So I tried to size down the bodice, which is not something I've done before. You can see that I made it smaller on this construction paper, but I think where I went wrong was I couldn't figure out how to redraft the darts correctly, and when I tried to fix them, I think I basically went in and resized it up again. So my new bodice pattern ended up being about the same size as the original, which was at least 2 sizes too large. So even though construction-wise, this is a lot neater than my earlier projects, this one is a 3. Well constructed, but a terrible fit. But at least it has helped me identify the next thing I can do to, I think, dramatically improve my sewing skills. I need to learn how to draft patterns myself. As a petite person, I think a lot of the fit issues I've been struggling with are because commercial patterns are made for people a lot taller than me. So I think I really need to just spend some time learning about pattern drafting so I can get a really nice fit on all my projects. And I feel like this apron dress is a very simple pattern. It's basically just a triangle bodice and would be a great place to start for a self-drafting experiment. So look out for an upcoming video where I attempt to self-draft some patterns. Thank you all so much for watching, and a big thanks to the small but awesome crew of folks who have subscribed and or commented and liked so far. Your support means everything to me. I'm going to try to post more regularly. I'm shooting to post on Fridays, and I have just finished a new vintage dress that, after some setbacks, actually ended up going well. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please check back and comment, like, and subscribe if you want to follow along my mishap-filled sewing journey as an ambitious beginner.